Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy Nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks for joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. I'm Jennifer Rogers Markwell, and I'm joined by Ricardo Wilkins, who is an author and an inspiring travel coach. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here and share a bit of my journey and money story with the listeners.
Fabulous. Well, tell me about yourself, who you are, and why you do what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I am from the Washington, D.C., Maryland area. Lived there literally my whole life. Went to college there. But over the last few years, I became, really inspired by traveling across the U.S. and abroad. So I'm a nomad. So that's kind of something I'm doing right now. And that's been amazing for the last year and a half, me and my partner. And right now I'm an author. I just released my first book earlier this year. The title is called Life Biohack. There's more, the subtitle that's much longer, but I'll save your listeners. And the main title is called Life's Biohack.
Well, tell me about the book.
Sure. So Life Biohack, I was inspired to write this about 6 months ago after watching a documentary called Stink about how household toxins and the increased usage of chemicals in these household products have been a correlation with human disease and health conditions over the last few decades. And over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to really engross myself and go down the rabbit hole about a unique novel but vast area of science called redox signaling that is focused on how our body heals and protects ourselves. So I just was inspired to write a short introduction that's straightforward so people can gather some insights into this field of health that they might not know about.
So by talking about that, and I am obviously, I know 1% of anything when it comes to anything that you're sharing right now. So educate me. Is that kind of the lean into when you're talking about air fresheners in the house that are, not necessarily the best thing for you to be breathing in? Is that kind of where you're chatting?
Yes, that was the documentary. That was the focus of the documentary. Air fresheners, especially cleaning products, even cosmetic products, just the toxins and chemicals that go into those daily products that we use every day, and the toxins and the loopholes that allows companies to include toxins that are known, either carcinogens or damaged hormones, harmful to our immune system. So yeah, the documentary was about that. And my book touches on that a little bit because that's what inspired me to write it. And then I go into just educating people on this process in the body that that's very impactful and important that they might not know about.
What pushed you in this direction? Because we talked about, obviously, things flow in directions. Sometimes you're like, how do they end up here?
Yeah.
How did you end up with this, thought of writing this book?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Just my journey, growth and development. If somebody told me I'd be writing a book about anything, even a couple of years ago, I would have just brushed it to the side, like, not me, that's not possible. But I've done a lot of, development work, travel. I've grown a lot through travel. And about a year and a half ago, someone asked me to participate in an anthology book, a group of men about stories of passion, perseverance and purpose. And that kind of opened my thinking up to, just kind of like planting that seed, like I can do more. Cause I wrote, it's just a couple of pages, but that opened me up. And then, when I watched that documentary, I said, I can write a short little handbook on this field of health. I've had the opportunity to, like 4.5 years ago now, just again, randomly heard a doctor mention this novel field of the body was attached to a product. And it sounded so unique. I wanted to learn everything I could. And like I said, I never looked up. 4 years later, I never looked up. So I just wanted to take, everything, all the time I spent, because I was just passionate about learning about it. I said, you know what, I know enough where I can educate people in a really simple format.
I mean, I'm assuming you learned probably a ton along the way, right? There's so much stuff in what we either consume or what we put on ourselves, right? Like, I can't imagine probably knowing the knowledge that you have of like trying to stay away from so many different products now.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine who read the book yesterday, and he called me. It's like, man, why'd I read your book? Right. And now he said it had him thinking about, like everything that was in his house, everything that he was doing. And yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because watching the documentary, I didn't hear anything that I didn't hear before necessarily, but it just kind of hit me a little differently this time. And so, yeah, just learning about, something, and I mentioned this to somebody the other day, and I learned this, that, the term organic, natural, green, those are, that's not regulated. So anybody can put a label, this is green and natural on, their cleaning product, and it can still contain, harmful ingredients, to us. So things like that, it's like, oh, you just have to pay, a little extra attention. And being a nomad, we crash at my parents' house sometimes. And, they don't have that same philosophy as me. So I was just like, oh man, just, all these chemicals, these toxic cleaning products. This is one I think probably maybe the most important one. And maybe listeners have heard this, but it's the term or ingredient fragrance. And the term fragrance or ingredient fragrance is one of those loopholes that allows companies that can include hundreds of ingredients within fragrance. So fragrance can represent, hundreds of chemicals in that one specific in fragrance. And that's one of the loopholes that they get around. So people don't know exactly what is in that product. So that's probably the biggest one to look out for. And I can't remember the name of the ingredient. I should have a list. So when I'm speaking about this, but it's something like shampoos, or certain therapy products include ingredients so it can provide so it can have a trait that people identify as being beneficial. So for example, shampoo, we have this perception, which I did as well, that, shampoo needs to be bubbly. And so that means it's cleaning our hair, but that's not true. So companies include ingredients so they will produce that side effect. But it's not necessarily, and some of the ingredients that present that are harmful to it.
So it's funny that you say this, not funny, haha, funny, but funny, ironic, funny.
Yeah.
I think back to a news story that I did, not to date myself, but it was a good, probably 15, 16, 17 years ago. And it was with the term natural flavor added. So it was around the holidays, and we did a story with a lab actually, and there was a turkey, like a real turkey, right? And then there was a cup of clear liquid, and it was the natural flavor added. And it was amazing the difference in taste from the real turkey, from the that has a natural flavor added, was so much more robust than the actual food, but it was all chemical based. So interesting that you said that. And that literally just came to me. I was like, oh yeah, I did that years and years and years ago, but fascinating.
Yeah. If people travel to any other countries, you might notice that the food tastes a little fresher. A lot of people that are gluten sensitive, when they eat bread in other countries, it doesn't trigger them in any way. Or as those symptoms they're less. So just to your point, some of the things, at least here in the US compared to other countries and what's allowed, varies. And you can taste that in your food. Some of the chemicals, through my research, that are that are precluded from being included in European companies, products, are allowed in the US. It's a good example of that.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, tell
Yeah.
me, so the whole nomad thing, I feel like has gotten a lot more popular, right? You see people
Hmm.
hashtag, van life and living their best lives on the roads in, small vehicles or whatever they're doing, or Airbnbs these
Hmm.
days. Tell me how that happened and kind of that journey.
Yeah, my partner and I, we love to travel. Over the last few years, we, try to go abroad once or twice a year, visit a different city in the US. And just over the course of the pandemic and our work, we decided to, we were going to travel across the US and see some of the beauty that the national parks had to offer, which were amazing. Kind of came back east, did some things back east a little bit, spent some time in Arizona, then did some things abroad, Africa, Namibia, Africa, um, Maldives, Dubai, which was really great. Cartagena, Colombia for a month. I spent some time there a few years ago volunteering, so I wanted to go back. So we got back after that, 9 months, and we didn't have a plan, but we just enjoyed it so much. We just kind of said we just wanted to keep it up. We weren't ready to settle. Every family and friends were asking us when we were going to settle and where, and we never had an answer. And we just kind of realized, this was going to be our path for the immediate future. And yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. We recently just got back from spending 7 weeks in Ecuador at the end of 2022.
That's awesome. I mean, a lot of people wait till retirement to do things like that, and you're doing it now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, through our trade, we might share some of our, not some, we share a lot of our experience on social media. And whenever, I had a family reunion this past summer, and I saw a lot of family members I hadn't seen in a while. And everybody to a person is just like, wow, we love what you're doing. It's so inspiring. I feel like I'm there with you all. I wish I did that. Look, a lot of that, and friends say that, or, I might just come across someone who I haven't seen in a while. It's just like, you don't even know who sees you, right? It's just like, wow, man, I see on the places you're going. That's amazing. So seeing the impact it has on other people, and they're really, really inspired by it because it's places they've never seen and things they haven't done. And, older family members, things they maybe wish they have gone. My dad, a lot of places he wished he went and he didn't go. So he loves seeing me go to all these countries and having these amazing experiences to live through me a little bit. So that is, that is, really a benefit, an added benefit that we were not expecting. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
One thing that we like to talk about are money memories, right? That mold, like something that happened in your past or a memory that resonates with you that helped mold your relationship to money as an adult. What's a memory that you're willing and open to share?
Yeah. So this is, I was kind of struggling to determine what my money memory was that it impacts me today, but I know what it is because it's something we still kind of joke about. It's my dad. So my dad growing up, he always had to have the top brand, electronics, clothing, like so he had to have Sony. Yeah, always, well, everything was Sony. He just wanted everything, the top brand. Right. And also I didn't even realize this at the time. He bought stuff a lot. He just bought a lot of stuff. And I realized I'm the exact same way. So I always felt like I have to have the top brand, like almost, if it's not the top brand, it's not quality. And so I realized that just impact my relationship with money and what I feel like I needed to spend, because obviously the top tier brands cost a lot more money most of the time. So that I realized that had an influence on my relationship with money, spending money maybe I shouldn't be spending on items or I can spend cheaper, or less expensive, I would say. And also the frequency that I purchase things. That's something my dad still does. When I'm at his house, he just has Amazon boxes coming all the time. And it's something that my partner and I joke about. propensity to buy things on Amazon when I don't necessarily have to. And it's something I'm aware of. And just getting older, realizing that's something that I modeled from my dad, and how my relationship with money was influenced by that. Again, maybe spending what I shouldn't be spending, and then in relation to how much, you know, my relationship with money, what I'm worth as far as money. So that's my, I feel like a money memory that I'm still working on today, actually.
Yeah, Amazon makes it easy, doesn't it? I mean, before you'd have to
Oh,
go to
makes
the
it.
store physically, you'd have to go, you'd have to like pay money for whatever. And now it's like Amazon, you're like, yes, I would like that on my doorstep in one day, please. And here's my credit card. And it's all out of sight, out of mind until it lands on your door.
Oh my gosh. They make it so easy. So easy.
It's dangerous that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Another question we like to kind of talk through too is money infidelities. And that could be something
Mm-hmm.
you're not impeccable, to yourself with your own budget. It could be something outside of you. It could be something that happened with somebody down the street, or just something that you could learn from.
Mm-hmm.
What's an infidelity that you're open to sharing that you think listeners could learn from?
Yeah. So some time ago, a while back, I remember I got a good job, started paying some real, good salary. And so I started saving up. I had some debt. I acquired some credit card debt, and I was determined to buy a home or a condo. So I obviously had to pay my debt off first. So maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, I was just saving up, paying off debt, and to pay off the debt. Well, I paid off the debt and then saving up, put down a down payment on what ended up being a condo. And then I was really proud of myself that I had that mental discipline to, pay off that debt and purchase that condo, my first home purchase. And so I get in my home, and my old habits immediately start trickling in, as far as acquiring debt, spending money I shouldn't be spending, not being attentive to the responsibilities of being a homeowner. And I end up foreclosing, and I had to end up foreclosing on it, just fall into those old habits. And that taught me that I had to change my relationship with money, and how I spent and maintaining a budget.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, have shared stories that are similar, just because
Mm-hmm.
many folks aren't taught this, right? When you're a little kid, you're not like, hey, here's a budget, here's what you need to do, and here's how you don't overspend, and credit cards, you want to be thoughtful and pay off and not, get yourself in this debt. But that's not a conversation that happened when we were kids.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's, I hope they'll be okay with me saying this. But my parents, something my parents, went through. So again, to your point, something that we weren't educated on as kids, and being responsible, with our funds. It's something they kind of did the same thing. So, but, now we live and we learn.
Totally. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the journey of life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I realized recently, and again, not recently, something I've heard before, but just really trying to accept and just be more aware of, is so much of our journey is just learning from what we might classify as mistakes, and sometimes even it's hard. It might be hard to, even for myself, hard to recognize in the moment, but that mistake, or that failure, you want to call it a failure, whatever it is, it's just part of your journey to get you to where you're going. It might be part of the plan. Maybe you need to learn that to get to where you're going. So maybe you can teach people from your failures, and it's all it's all kind of synergistic and working as this whole to support everyone. It's hard when you're in it. It's kind of hard to remember that, but I believe that's part of the plan.
I love that. I mean, and when you look back 5 or 10 years, maybe there's some aha moments that you're like, that's why that happened. And here I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she would be okay with me saying this. And I know this is about money, but just an example of this. my partner and I, we've been together for 10 years. And it's been a good 10 years, but, we definitely have had our hiccups. Probably a few breaks, more than a couple breaks here and there. But we both kind of come to realize that in some way, though, that journey, that up and down, the problems were almost needed and necessary to get us where we are now in such a really beautiful place.
Beautiful. So true. So true. So as we wrap things up, one thing I like to ask too, what are tips or tricks that you utilize in your household with money? Some people, pay off bills every month, utilize a certain credit card for points. Some people, only go grocery shopping certain days when there's discounts. What's something that you utilize, differently in your household that you're open to sharing?
Yeah, points. So being people that travel a lot. So if somebody wants to travel a lot and travel more and maybe trying to figure out how to do that financially, if you get a credit card, either an airline credit card or hotel, and if you're disciplined enough, some people, suggest don't use credit cards. But my partner, she's really good at this. So, use that credit card to make all your purchases. You accumulate those points that you can use for flights or hotel stays. We have a hotel card that has come in, we probably had, last year, 20, 25 free stays from points.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lifesaver a lot of times. And it saves a lot of money by utilizing those points.
I think the secret is paying it off though, right? Paying it off.
Yeah, that's the secret. Yeah. You got to make sure you pay it off. Don't fall into the trap.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories today and spending some time with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure sharing a bit of my story as opposed to, travel, my book and money. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And hopefully everyone who's listening will listen to us again on the next Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.